Hello and welcome to this video, and this video is going to be called Yes... Kate Bush is still a genius. Okay? So, for those of you who don't know, and some of the old people like me who do watch this video might not know, there is an incredibly successful TV program called Stranger Things on at the moment. I don't know anything about it. I've only seen a few scenes from it. I've told it's a sort of a rehash of old 80s horror films like Hellraiser and Nightmare on Elm Street for young people, and the young people love it. You know, the people who don't watch this channel, which is basically, I can tell you because I look at the analytics, it's females and young people. They don't watch this channel, right? So all you middle-aged men, we're safe. We're safe here, right? So if you don't know what Stranger Things is, don't worry, you're safe. And in a very important emotional moment in this TV series, they played Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. And it's made that song the biggest song on the planet at the moment. It's the number one in the top 10 in most countries around the world. And this album, from when it comes, has now gone into the top 10. And even Kate, in her sort of exile of, you know, the little shell that she exists in, that she pops out every 10 years, has put a statement out thanking all the Stranger Things album for putting her back on the top of the music world again. Because Kate, for over 40 years, has been this multi-million selling artist, right? But of course, here in the UK, she's like royalty, one of the biggest artists we've ever had. Over in the States, not so much so. So this may well be her biggest moment in her career. There she is, 64 years old, as you know, and she is having the biggest success ever, because the world's bizarre and it's bonkers, right? So for me, it's like, it's interesting, and it raises many things that I'm going to talk about in this video. There's so much I want to talk about, and I haven't planned it, so let's just kick in, right? So before we get into all this, a few months ago, I did a ranking of Kate Bush's albums, because I'm a huge Kate Bush fan. Let's get this out of the way. Kate Bush, to me, is an utter genius. She's a musical genius. She's a songwriting genius. She's a visionary. She's one of the greatest of all time. She's very interesting to me because, to me, she's out and out prog rock. Out and out prog rock. If you watch John Lydon talking, he will tell you that he's a huge fan of, you know, Captain Beefheart. He was a huge fan of reggae. He is also a huge fan of Kate Bush. That's a mark for me of really true greatness. She comes in a little bit after the prog genre, is able to take all those influences from progressive rock and tie those all up at a time which is just after punk, and she's able to turn basically prog rock into a huge commercial success, which comes almost like a blueprint for so many other prog bands that are going to then come in. It really creates the landscape of 80s. I cannot say how great she is. So have I made the point? I'm an absolutely huge fan. I love her to bits, and I think she's fantastic. When I rated the albums and I came across this album, I knew I was going to be contentious and rate this quite low, because for many people, that album there is her greatest album. And it's not my favourite album. My favourite album is The Dreaming. I love Never Forever. I love Sensual World. So there's a whole bunch of albums that I really like, you know, more than this album. Now, after I did the video, I chatted to a couple of people and I realised I may have been too harsh, and this may well should have been ranked a lot higher, and this may well be her masterpiece. You know, I thought I may have made a mistake. Let's just think about these ranking videos. You know, they're discussion points. They're not really the truth, obviously. So I stuck it on in the car and had it in the car for about, you know, 2 weeks, listening to it over and over again. And I realised that when you listen to this album, Hounds of Love, Running Up That Hill, Big Sky, Cloud Busting, they were the hit records on side one, and I think that coloured my ears. On side two, I was aware of this, there was this great big sprawling epic called The Ninth Wave. All right, and I don't think over these years I've really given that the the concentration it deserves. I knew it was pretty amazing. I knew it was wild and crazy and was a complete opposite to these very concise pop songs that were on side one, right? But what I hadn't quite got my head around was the actual the conceptual themes that were in that track. So I put this on in the car again, and I appreciate the genius of the pop songs on side one. And when I say pop songs, these are still highly exploratory, creative song with great depth in the themes and the lyrics. You know, really incredible stuff. And Running Up That Hill has a power which we will talk about in a bit. But the thing my ear was drawn to listening to it more recently was The Ninth Wave, which is an absolutely incredible track. And one of the things that I started to think was, is this the greatest progressive rock track of the 1980s? It's definitely the greatest progressive epic, sidelong epic of the 1980s. Where does it rank on the greatest epics of all time? You know, I've got a video where I talk about the 10 greatest prog epics, sidelong epics ever. And I didn't consider this on the list at all because, of course, do you even class this as prog rock? Right? If I describe to you what The Ninth Wave is, which is a sidelong track about someone stranded in the ocean drowning and their mind goes back to phases in their life, and at some point it goes back to them skating across the river, and underneath that river is a witch that has been executed, and it somehow wakes the witch, which has ramifications. You know, this person then imagines themselves as an invisible ghost going back to see their friends after they've drowned. We end up in sort of a shot of Earth out of space. It's very difficult to actually tease out the meanings of it, but because there are so many meanings there about confronting your own mortality, about history, about English history and how that works within the grand frame of the Earth's history. It's just an incredible piece that references, when I say English history, I mean, here we have, the title comes from Tennyson. Right, how many pop albums have a quote from Tennyson on the back? Wave after wave, each mightier than the last, till the last a ninth wave, gathering half the deep and full of voices, slowly rose and plunged, roaring, and all the wave was aflame, from Tennyson's Holy Grail. It's a reckoning that contains all your own personal history, all history of everything. It's the idea of your life flashing before you, that moment of judgment. It's an incredible thing. Musically, this sidelong piece that encapsulates all that has themes and it goes through stuff. There's their use of very virtuoso odd time signatures in the sort of folk section that comes in. You know, the use of the studio electronic experimentation. This is a prog rock track. It's even more proggy than many other prog epics that would easily, that I can think of Pink Floyd tracks like Wish You Were Here that are far less, you know, not Wish You Were Here. Oh, I don't want to get into Pink Floyd. If you've watched my top 10 prog bands of all time, I got a right mess in it, so let's not even go there. But my point is that this is very proggy, okay? So I was going to do a video when I just talked about what I've just talked about and really got into this album should have rated higher, and that it's a prog rock masterpiece, and the prog rock world has not noticed that there's this incredible epic on there. It never gets mentioned as a prog rock track, because this is a bee I have in my bonnet, that the prog world continually shoots itself in the foot by not embracing what is prog, not pointing and going, you know, Kate Bush, she's prog. The prog world is not going to stand up and say, you know, the biggest artist in the world at the moment, they're prog. It's Kate Bush. She's prog. Everything she does is prog. Right? Now, we get on to the phenomenon, now at the halfway mark of this video, of the fact that she has suddenly come back, you know. So why? Well, it appears, and this is coming from discussions I've had with my students at the music college I teach at, because on Monday morning I walked in and they said, have you heard about Kate Bush, Andy? You know, you must like Kate Bush because she's amazing and we all love Kate Bush now. And I said, that's really interesting. Why is it that you have to have an artist present to you within something like on TikTok or in a meme or in some TV show that you're a big fan of. I then put on Jeff Buckley for them. I said, have a look at Jeff Buckley. I said, Jeff Buckley is a genius equal to Kate Bush. Absolute musical genius. Let's have a listen. They put him on. They go, oh, yeah, he's amazing. He's absolutely brilliant. One kid went to me, what's he like? He's an incredible songwriter, he's an incredible music, incredible singer. And they went, well, is he better than Freddie Mercury? Because they know Freddie Mercury. And the reason why they know Freddie Mercury is because that has a cultural significance to them. It pops up on memes, it pops up on programs, and there's a great big biopic that's been put out. These bands are not stupid. You know, if there's a film out there that everyone's talking about, then it creates a market for you. And then Queen can pop up, you know, we can see Brian May, you know, rising out the ground on the Silver Jubilee, you know, with Paddington Bear. You know, that's what Queen have done. You know, they've been able to maintain their cultural significance through the use of modern media, which is how the industry works. Today's youngsters, right, the people who aren't watching this, that's how they consume music. They don't consume music like us. It's not through the radio or going buying best-ofs or going around your mates out and listening, group listening and things like that. That doesn't happen anymore. It happens through the internet and it being connected to things like this. Now, what's important here is that's happening all the time. So why is this so special? And I tell you why it's special. Because Kate Bush is a musical genius. As I've just pointed out, her music is difficult, right? It doesn't go through the normal pop sort of hooks and simplicity and let's sell 3 hooks, you know, and then get to this and that. The way that pop music is written, she doesn't do that. Her stuff has depth. It's musically challenging. It's lyrically challenging. So what happens when you put that in an intense emotional point in a TV show that all the kids are watching? And what happens if they go, oh my God, this is brilliant. Now, if you go on Spotify and look what people are listening to, they are not listening to new music. Even though there's so much new music out there as well, there's more new music than anything else because people are able to make music, you know, at a grand scale. So Spotify is full of new music by artists that have self-released onto Spotify. Nobody listens to them because nobody listens to new music. It's a tiny percentage of what people listen to. They still go back and listen to the old music. Now, why do they do that? I tell you why it is. Because in the old days, the labels, not all the time, but sometimes they would sign musically talented people. Whether that was Frank Zappa, right? Whether that was Stevie Wonder or Prince or Steely Dan, you know, whether that was Kate Bush, right, or Curtis Mayfield, you know, or Led Zeppelin, or Yes, or the Mahavishnu Orchestra, right, or Gentle Giant, who went, you know, in the 70s went round playing to 10, 20,000 seater venues. Right? When Jeff Buckley was signed, and this is why I played him because I was reading about this, when Jeff Buckley was signed, the label had not heard a demo. Right? They hadn't heard any songs. There was just a guy in a bar playing with an acoustic guitar that was blowing everybody away and was apparently a musical genius. So the record company just said, so what do you want to do, Jeff? He went, I don't know, I'm going to write a whole ton of songs. I need an orchestra, I need to put a band together. And they put him in the studio and he just did whatever he wants. And here we are. Right, 28 years later, still listening to that album. We're still listening to it. And if they'd have put Jeff in that slot instead of Kate, we would all be talking about, you know, Jeff Buckley. Right? But they didn't. They put Kate. And Kate's a musical genius. Right? She's not someone you just signed because she looked good. She's not someone that got signed because she's attached to some media thing. So, you know, she's in a film or part of a TV series. So there's got an existing fan base, you know, that has got an image which is putting all right buttons for what is trendy. You know, that has got is really good on Twitter as an able to, you know, manipulate people through social media. Kate Bush doesn't do that. Kate Bush doesn't do anything. She sits in her house in complete obscurity like this, probably working on her next album that's going to take 15 years to make, right? But the stuff's so good that here she is without any extra marketing, with nothing, sat on the top of the world. Now, what this is a testament is a testament to decent music made by decent musicians. Now, I'm going to backtrack. I've made enough videos here that I know I'm starting to backtrack on my videos. I have an opinion at one point and I change. And if you go a few videos back, I had a bit of a roast of Jacob Collier. Right, and I think the reason I was doing that because I'm seeing Jacob Collier as a sort of like a jazz musician. I'm comparing him to Thelonious Monk and Coltrane, and he's not that. What Jacob Collier is a pop musician. He sings, he writes catchy melodies, he does cover versions. He's a pop artist, but he's obviously a musical genius, and has been able to carve out a career where he has been able to tour, reach big audiences, sell records and get Grammys, right? This is a testament that if you go and find musically talented pop artists, people that can play all the instruments, that can compose, that can sing, that can do all this stuff, if you go out there and present that to the people will eat it up. So this thing with Kate Bush has really shown that there's a problem with the music industry right now. And it's because the companies have not got the guts to put out music anymore. Right? They have totally forgotten the business they're in. Right? In 200 years' time, 500 years' time, people will still be listening to music. And the reason is because our ears are the greatest superpower we have of our senses. They are in 3 dimensions, and our hearing can go through walls and can listen round corners. And so our ears, actually, in terms of our senses, are greater than our eyes. Our eyes keep us alive more, right? That is without a case. Our eyes are very important to us emotionally. Most people would rather go deaf than blind, because our eyes are so important in terms of just surviving and moving around. But in terms of emotional intensity, right, it's our ears. When you're watching a film and it's very exciting, most of the excitement is actually coming from the sound. If you switch the visuals off and just listen to the soundtrack, the music and all the sound effects, you will still feel viscerally what's going on. But if you mute it, suddenly it's all gone. Your ears are very important, and they're almost like magical in the emotional intensity that sound gives us and music. Music's not going anywhere because it's something that is miraculous. And you can get into 3D television and video games and all that type of stuff, and the technology can go up and up and up. But I don't believe it will ever surpass what music does. When I was probably about 6 years old, I can remember toddling into assembly at my school, and I sat down, and a clarinet quartet came in and they played some tunes. Now, I'd grown up listening to music as a kid because my dad was a big jazz fan. But hearing the air moving in the room, seeing these people in front of me playing live, seeing them manipulating this stick and sounds coming out in the room that I was sat and going into my ears, this was the profound experience for me. This is the experience that made me absolutely love music. The appreciation of what music does, which is so many different things. The psychological effect that music can have on you just through your ears, but also the communal effect of sitting quietly with all these other people and thinking, are they feeling the same way? Is the musicians that are playing, are they feeling, they're communicating something to me right now and I know what they're saying, and it's not something in words that can be said. So what's this video about? It's about the importance of music. It's about the importance of musicians like Kate Bush that are able to do what they do. And it's about the age-old truth that if you just put that stuff in front of people, they will buy it and they will love it. And one of the things I've realised is that this mechanism of being able to now market music through memes, through TikTok videos, through viral YouTube videos, through television programs that are coming on streaming services, because this is the thing, you've got to remember that the day that Stranger Things episode was on, where I live, the schools were half empty. The kids had all skived off to watch it. It was an event. And if you want to know about it and you've got Netflix or whatever the platform it's on, and I don't know because I haven't watched it, you can go watch it right now. It's not like when I was a kid and you would wait for Top of the Pops to come on and then you would have that half an hour and then, you know, something would be on there. Oh my God, they had Rush playing Tom Sawyer and that, you know, or Eddie Van Halen, Jump. I can remember those were moments for me. But I couldn't go back to them. That was it. I had to go and buy the album. But this is a different thing. But this is the way music's marketed, and then maybe there's nothing wrong with that. What is fundamentally wrong is the record companies are just not looking for artists that are musically able. Right? Does that what this shows? But good on her. Good old Kate. There she is. Reclusive Kate makes an album every 10 years, but she'll never go away. You know why? Because she's absolutely brilliant. And in the end, that wins out. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.